Hey, most coffee companies tell you their beans are premium. Mine actually are. This is Red Iron Coffee. It's high quality, single origin Colombian beans, roasted by guys who have pulled enough overnight shifts to know what coffee's supposed to do. So, if you are like me and you love your caffeine, go on down to Red Iron Coffee, pick yourself up some today. That's redironcoffee.com. Like I said, that's redironcoffee.com. Charles McCall, thank you for doing this.
You bet.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
I want to start out with a little bit of an introduction, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Charles McCall, a former Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, where he served until 2025. For over a decade, he played a key role in passing tax reforms and supporting small businesses. In addition to his public service, he's the president and CEO of Ameristate Bank, a fourth-generation family-owned bank in Atoka, Oklahoma, where he's expanded financial services to rural communities. Outside of work, he's a devoted husband and father of two, an active member of his church, and he's been deeply involved in community development projects, working to boost infrastructure and education across the state. So, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Oh, well, thank you for this nice introduction. I kind of consider myself just an everyday Oklahoma guy, a guy from small town of Atoka, where I still live, and I think we live in the best state in the nation. I think we have the best people, and excited to run for governor because I think got a lot of opportunity to make some big strides forward for the people in the state, and Oklahoma's really kind of an exciting place to be. So great to be with you today.
Absolutely. And before we get started, give you a little gift here.
Oh, really?
Here. Yes, sir.
Hey, fantastic.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Absolutely. So,
Hey, how about that?
yeah, so me and another fireman, we run a little coffee company. It's called Red Iron Coffee. It's made by firemen. So every bag's fresh. And
It smells great.
yeah, absolutely. It's we do all the roasting, grinding, and packaging. So
That's fantastic.
got you a couple bags. So if you're a coffee drinker,
Oh, yeah.
hope you like it. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
We can always get you more.
And I've learned to consume a lot more during this campaign. I tell you, it's long days and they're great, but I love coffee and I love the caffeine within it too.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So I kind of want to get a little backstory. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I've always lived in Atoka. That's where I was. Lived all my life. Grew up there. It's a small rural community. If you go to Atoka, that's great little city, great community. If you go to Atoka, it looks fairly good size because you've got major U.S. highway that comes right through town, but we've got about 3,500 people in the city limits and about 15,000 in the county. Not super big by metrics, but it's great people. Growing up there, it was a community where it didn't matter where you lived in town, didn't matter what your parents did for a living. The kids just were friends, and you hung out, and it was just a great place to grow up. I loved it so much that I want to go back and our family's business and raise my family there. So it's been great. Stephanie and I still live there today. That's where we call home, and we've been there married for 32 years. Just coming up on 33 here in a few. So.
Awesome. Did you play any sports or anything like that?
Yeah, I love sports. I played them all as a kid. Growing up, I had two great parents, and they had us involved in everything. But sports was something that I enjoyed doing, and played everything from t-ball, baseball, basketball, track, football. Loved all of those. Eventually got to where by high school I knew basketball was what I enjoyed the most, and wanted to play college sports, and that's kind of what I focused on and stuck with after my freshman year. But you learned, sports teaches you a lot about teamwork. collaboration, about work, work ethic, and you learn a lot of things about terms of carry you through life. Every organization takes collaboration and team building, and you also learn that you can't be any better than the weakest chain's not as it's only as strong as the weakest link in it. So, as an individual, you got to push yourself. You got to work, try to be excellent at what you do, and so whatever team you're plugged into, you're doing your part to maximize and reach your potential and reach those goals and outcomes. And state championship is what we were always striving for when I was playing basketball.
So basketball, kind of your main sport.
Yeah, that's what I loved. Yeah. I enjoy watching football as an adult. I enjoy football in terms of watching the sport probably more. But as an athlete and playing sports, basketball was the one that I really loved to play.
Yeah. You said as a freshman, you looked at, the thought was going to play college. Did you play college anyway?
I wanted to. I was really set. Could have played NAIA level and had the opportunity to do that. But I really wanted to be at Division I school and academically. My father played at TCU basketball, and he said it was a job, But I ended up going to the University of Oklahoma, and I did not get to play basketball there. They had some great players while I was there. Had a chance to play a pickup game with the 15th suit at OU.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I want to guard this guy. I want to play with this guy. And I'm going to find out just how good the 15th.
What's this guy made of?
Yeah. The guy that gets to play last, right? It turns out 15th guy is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Still really good.
No doubt.
So, but anyway, we had a great run at OU, and still got to play some intramural ball in the intramural and interfraternity leagues, and but I wish I'd had the size and the talent to play Division I, but that's how it worked out for me. And in the rearview mirror, it's all worked out pretty well.
Okay, what was your studies there?
My studies, it's interesting. Our family's in banking, so my dad really discouraged me from just defaulting to our family business. He just said, hey, I don't want you taking any business classes. I want you to take a variety of classes. Find out what you like, or what you're built for, what you love. You should go chase your dreams. And so that's what I did. And I took a lot of classes, and he gave me his recommendations on maybe what he thought I should do. But taking those classes, I found out that I was really good about, I love people, relationships and I was really good and love finance, and I was kind of wired towards business. So ultimately came back around to that and focused. I was in the College of Business at OU, received a BBA. I studied, the main discipline that I studied within the College of Business was finance, and also did study a lot of economics as well. And so that, and I just determined I wanted to go into banking, and I returned home. 1992, I was at the University of Oklahoma, 1988 to 1992. Returned home to family business, met my wife, Stephanie, on a blind date at the University of Oklahoma. Thought it would be a really bad evening, quite honestly. I can't imagine what she was thinking.
Oh, bad evening? Why is that?
Yeah, well, it's just, we both, so she had a sorority sister, and I had a fraternity brother that were dating.
Can I ask what fraternity?
I was a member, my fraternity's not on campus anymore.
Oh, okay.
But I was a member of Delta Upsilon at the University of Oklahoma, which had a lot of attorneys and doctors and bankers in it, as it turns out, business people. But neither one of us were planning on being on campus for the first football game of the season, home game, it's campus-wide, it's considered, victory party.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one of us had planned to be there that weekend, and then our plans changed. And so, you thought it was going to be a bad, not a great thing, because everybody had already had a date for victory party. I mean, it was the big one on campus,
Right.
but not the two of us. So anyway, we got paired up on a blind date, and it turned out to be, great.
Seems like it worked out.
It did, and we just continued to date from there, and we dated 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days, and we were married. And Stephanie's greatest blessing in my life. She's originally from Chickasha, Grady County here in Oklahoma. She's from a wonderful family, one other sibling, and we moved back to Atoka to make our home. Had 2 sons, Chase, and he's another Charles in the family, and our youngest is Carson, both recent graduates of University of Oklahoma, and so we're, I can count to a great extent a lot of great things that have happened to me in my career. I can kind of trace back to that time while I was at the University of Oklahoma. So that's how Stephanie and I became married and started our family, and now we're kind of in this new season of life where we're empty nesters, and our kids are off scratching out a living on their own. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So this campaign, Brooke, I've been able to. My oldest son lives in Norman, and so now I've just started staying there. When we're in the area, and it's kind of fun to freeload off your kids.
Yeah,
because they've been freeloading off me for decades.
A little payback.
It is.
Yeah,
it's just fun.
Yeah,
and plus I get to see them. So.
Wow, that's awesome. So you said after you left OU and graduated there, went into the banking side of things, went to the family business.
I did, yeah. And I went on and did the Graduate School of Banking at the University of Colorado, which is a very specific banking program. They've got a few options around the country. I chose the University of Colorado at the time. It had, and probably still is today, one of the better programs, and went there. But I've been in banking for 34 years. I stepped down. I ran for office. My dad encouraged me to run for city council. I didn't want to do it, but I did. It was an open seat, and he said, always, you're a businessman, don't ever run for public office unless the seat's open. I said, why? And he said, because if there's an incumbent in the seat, even if you win, you lose. You're a small town business guy. The incumbent will always have people who liked them, who loved them.
Yeah.
You beat the incumbent, the people who love them, they will work against you. They won't give you a chance.
Yeah.
And and that makes it hard to be effective.
Yeah.
Doesn't make it worth your time. So
it's an insightful piece of knowledge, though.
It's great advice.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I listen to my dad, I've done well. And the times that I've gone out and not taken his advice, I've proved him to be right.
Yeah.
The hard way.
Oh, yeah.
But he gave me that piece of advice, and it kind of spurred me into going ahead and running, even though I thought it was the wrong time in my life. And I told him it wasn't the right time personally. I had one child, a second one on the way, and Stephanie and I were still trying to build a life, make a house payment. How are we going to feed another child? And those are the things you focus on. And he said, no, but, listen, somebody's going to win this seat, and they'll be able to keep it as long as they want to. So you should run now. I did, and it was a contested seat, just like he predicted it would be.
Yeah.
But when the seat's open, you're not really running against anybody. You're running for the seat. They're running for the seat. If there's an incumbent that holds the seat, it's personal. You're running. It's totally different. So great piece of advice. One, a year later, our mayor decided not to run for reelection, and a group asked me to run for that, and had to go back and talk to Stephanie and say, now, honey, I know I told you a year ago, but this has come open, and I'm being encouraged to run for it. Another contested seat, won, and was mayor for 7 years. At that time, our state rep for House District 20 termed out, and some people thought I had done a good job as mayor and should run to represent us for House District 20. Thought about that. We got redistricted and put into House District 22, and they had a sitting representative who had 6 years remaining. I said, "There's my answer. This is not the right time to run. There's an incumbent." But the incumbent, just a few weeks before filing, announced that he would not seek re-election, and we went ahead and decided to file.
Okay.
So I ran. There never been a Republican elected to House District 22 in state history. I lived in the wrong part of the district really to win. I lived on the edge of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hard go, toughest thing I've ever done, public service-wise. It even feels tougher the way I remember it. It feels tougher than this gubernatorial run today.
What gave you the passion to pursue that?
My dad told me, first day on the job, I came back to work. Really was passionate about going back and working for our company. He said, "Charles, I'm thrilled that you decided to come back, but I wanted you to find what you wanted to do. Didn't want to push this on you, but." He said, "Listen, if you want to be successful, what we do in community banking, you got to go make someone else successful first. You've got to go invest in somebody and work with them to help them become successful in their business.
Right.
And if they do well, you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But if your customer and the communities that we serve, if they fail, we fail." And so it's very simple and business approach, but that also kind of spills over. That runs very parallel, in my estimation, my view of public service. Being a mayor, state rep, speaker of the House, now running for governor, some people will say, well, they refer to it as politics.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see it as politics. I see it as, I'm a private sector business guy. And it's public service. Somebody needs to do it because we just need to set the right environment for people, families, and business to do well. And once again, if that happens, everybody's going to do great. Our state's going to do great.
Right.
Our state, just like a bank, cannot outperform the people and the communities within it. We've got to be focused on making things better for people across the state at the state level, so that we all have a chance to see our children and our businesses do better than what our parents got to experience.
Seems like it was kind of a natural role for you going into the public service. It seems like you really.
Well, it didn't feel like a natural thing.
Yeah, but it feels like you kind of,
Yeah, I mean,
but of course the people
paralleling with
banking.
There's very much a similarity there. But that was never my gift. I mean, my faith is very important to me. My parents had me in church growing up every time the doors were open. I came to know Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior at 7 years old. And
wow, can you take us through that a little bit?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It's just kind of it's you go to church, you go to Sunday school, and then somewhere along the way, you have you kind of have a spiritual awakening, and you have something that speaks to you, and that, hey, you've got you're a sinner.
Yeah,
you are you were born into it.
Yeah.
And you're spiritually dead, and there's one path to eternal life, and that's through Jesus Christ, and only because of his sacrifice and living a perfect life and shedding his blood for the remission of my sins, and I've got the opportunity to be reconciled with God and have eternal life in the future.
I'm just extremely impressed at, that young of an age, you came to that realization. At 7 years old, I was probably out throwing rocks at windows or something,
Well,
Yeah.
well, I'm a boy too. I had my fair
Oh, yeah.
share of, shooting windows out with BB guns or
Oh,
rocks
yeah,
or
absolutely.
dirt bike wrecks
Yeah.
and some mischief as well. And certainly some bad decisions along the way, but, nothing of that really can derail a young person's life
Yeah.
and limit what they can do. And so my parents were great at kind of keeping me, wrangled in. But once you accept Jesus and you're baptized and, but then your spiritual journey starts and it's a new life and you're still trying to find answers.
Yeah.
And I always, I've listened to so many sermons about, growing up and as a youth about what Jesus, what God's going to call you to do and finding purpose in your life. And I just remember sitting in the pew saying, what are you going to have me do? I don't like public speaking. I don't want to be, don't call me into missions. Don't call me to pastor a church. I mean, that's the scariest thing I could think of, standing up in front of a congregation and
it's crazy. A lot of the successful people I've been able to meet and talk to, a lot of them had that same realization or that same type of journey, as you will, of what they don't want to do ends up what they're called to do.
Yeah, I mean, as it turns out, God has a great sense of humor and there's a lot of irony. But I think more importantly, you find purpose in the things that you're not naturally gifted in. And it's kind of a cool experience because when you do, when you kind of surrender to it and you step out in faith and say, man, I am not equipped to do this. And God, you are going to have to, you're going to have to show me. I need you to be with me. I need you to, give me the things I know I don't have to do this. I'm weak or I'm limited in this. And it's pretty cool to see him do it. And when it happens, you didn't do it. You just didn't have the skill set. You didn't have the natural talent to do it, but he equips you. And he carries you. And I have seen some really rough times. When I became the Speaker of the House, it was the worst time in history to become the Speaker. I mean, failing economy, no reserves, teachers, education hadn't been invested in significantly in a long time. Teachers hadn't had a pay raise in 10 years, and people wanted them to have one. And
so what's that like coming into a situation like that? I mean, how much thought and prayer and stress and anxiety comes with that?
It's so much like this running for governor. And I look back now and I'm like, okay, I see these experiences are equipping me for something else. But God brought you through it. You give him the credit and give him the glory for it because it wasn't you. But he increases your faith and he's and he prepares you for some bigger challenge. And there's going to be some big challenges, but you go in and you experience the storms. The storm was not just an economic crisis. I mean, the economy moves up and down, and in Oklahoma at that time, there were very, very big swings.
Yeah.
We worked a lot to kind of smooth those things out, but at the same time, there's kind of this, there is those things in the physical realm, the day-to-day things that we live, those challenges with family, but there's also a spiritual battle every day too. And I mean, the hearts, souls, and minds of our youth are being fought over every day in that realm as well. But it's not just the economic storms. During the same time, my mom, who's the greatest Christian woman I've ever known, The Lord called her home within 30 days of me being seated as Speaker of the House. Not a great thing to happen in your life, especially when you're going into that kind of situation. We had a teacher walkout during that 2-year cycle, which was it turns things into a pressure cooker. And during the teacher walkout, my wife called and she got a diagnosis that she had breast cancer. And I remember everything that, wasn't right and could go wrong, it felt like it was.
Yeah.
And just more pressure. But I remember just stopping the day I got that call and just praying and kind of looking up towards the heavens and saying, Lord, of course, something like, it's just one negative thing after other, but I know you're with me, and I know you can deliver me. I can't see it, but I believe that it's going to happen. I'm just going to take it one day at a time, and he did. He delivered. We got the teacher pay raise done. We got the economy turned around. My wife went through pretty radical surgeries during that time at the Capitol. But we got that session shut down, and my wife has made a full recovery. She's 7 years cancer free. Praise the Lord.
Wow.
And, so we're life is about your spiritual journey and your life with Christ and finding that purpose and where He wants to put you on it. I really believe He put me on the path of public service.
Yeah.
And and I can tell you, I would have never have picked it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have picked it.
Yeah. Well, you're the clay and He's the potter. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
molds you into things that you might not know you'll be molded into.
But the chapters, there's trials and tribulation, but there's always victory and through your faith, and
of course,
just hanging in there. And He's writing a new chapter all the time. So
yeah, absolutely. So after being Speaker of the House, what kind of pushed you to throw in your hat in the ring for governor?
That's a good question. I got to see the worst of times and the best of times while I was Speaker of the House, and I got to serve as Speaker longer than anyone in state's history, and that's before term limits or since term limits have been imposed, and probably no one will ever be able to, match or break that record. So, it's one thing to say, if you're this. When I left the Speaker's office, gosh, it's such a hard job. And if you can leave the Speaker's office, kind of still standing and a lot of speakers, their life got bad. But things were really good. And people don't remember how things were when you started. They remember how things were when you ended. Couldn't have been better for me. And it was a great opportunity to exit and just say, hey, I've done my public service. But after I termed out, and my term ended in November of 24, we've, there was just a compelling conviction to run for governor. And we prayed about it because we knew what it was going to mean if we did. But I spent 8 years as the Speaker trying to fix a broken economy, and we did that, and catch up on a lot of things in the state, everything from education to roads and bridges, law enforcement.
What was the reason you think for that broken economy? What were the things that went wrong before you came into that seat?
Well, we didn't have the economy was just not diversified as much as it is now. Oil and gas and agriculture have kind of been our two big industries historically in the state, and they've been great. State was built on cattle, agriculture, and oil and gas. No question about that's our main staple. But we've also diversified further into aerospace and tourism, and now technology is a big opportunity for us in the state of Oklahoma. But the biggest thing that happened was we started changing the way that our tax structure in the state of Oklahoma. We started lowering taxes on people in business, and we did it incrementally. But that's what supercharged our economy. And for instance, the appropriated budget in 2017, my first one as Speaker of the House, it was a bad economy. It was $6 billion. In 2024, the last budget I passed, we passed, it was $18.2 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Three times larger. And some people will say, well, hey, you're a Republican. Didn't you just grow government? Like, no, we didn't.
Right.
We actually lowered taxes on businesses and people.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did was they just spent the money you left in their pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and it grew the economy. And then from there, when taxation comes down and your overall tax structure for business gets better, now you've got businesses that coming to the state of Oklahoma. Right. You've got people who are now moving here. We're the 10th fastest growing state, rumored to be the 8th fastest as well. So that's kind of what changed. And so that's what I want to do as governor. We're on the cusp of taking big strides forward. We caught up a lot of things, and we still have challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is bringing 6 lanes of infrastructure to the Red River, where I live, both on the I-35 corridor as well as the US 75-69 corridor. We're not ready for it. It's going to take more money to keep up the roads that we have because we got more traffic on them today than we had last year and certainly 10 years ago. But the key to it, being able to meet those challenges, education, roads and bridge investment, healthcare, mental health, law enforcement, fire and safety, is having a growing economy. When you have an economy that's doubling and tripling its output every 5 years, you're going to have the resources you need to make Oklahoma better from an investment standpoint. What we can't do is go back to 2016, 2015, where you have an economy that's being choked by poor tax structure in this state and a lack of diversification. And for instance, the Tax Foundation had us ranked 40th when I came in to the Speaker's office. There's only 10 states in the country, in their estimation. They're nonpartisan. They don't care if you're Democrat-controlled, Republican-controlled, independent-controlled. They just look at tax structure and rate you. But there's only 10 states we're only better than 10 states at that time. In 2024, when I left, we're 18th. Mm-hmm. You change things for business, you change things for people. Now people want to come here. We are a low cost of living state, which helps. Yeah. But you've got to continually to set that right environment. It goes back to what my dad told me, and I proved that out as Speaker of the House. You set the right environment for people and business to flourish, and it shows up. You've got the revenue. Mm-hmm. You got 3 times as much, all with a lower tax burden on the people. I love that situation. I want us to get back there as governor. And we've got those challenges ahead of us, but we've got to have somebody that knows how to set the right recipe for our state to continue to take those big steps. Yeah. And we're competing with some, the only states out there that do better than us, really, the correlation with them is 0 personal income tax. I don't want to be like Texas that has high ad valorem tax, but 0 personal income tax. I want to be like Tennessee or Florida. Yeah. They have 0, but with low property taxes. Mm-hmm. So, discussing a little bit before we started the podcast, we both come from rural parts of the state. Our families do some agriculture. Mm-hmm. have some agricultural operations. We cannot let property taxes get high in this state. We've got to keep them low. And right now, the people of the state, their incomes have not kept up with inflation.
Right.
And so, one of the biggest, we've got to keep Oklahoma affordable.
Mm-hmm.
We've got our utility costs are creeping up.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance rates have really skyrocketed.
Yeah.
We've got to go in and do some common sense things to bring those things down for people. I want to see a freeze on property taxes for people of the state, everybody for 3 years. Just give them a chance to breathe, let their income catch up. But we should keep that freeze, I believe, permanent for people ages 62 and older. And really, we need to find a way to repeal property taxes for seniors, retirees, and veterans in the state of Oklahoma. You've got to be careful how you do that.
Yeah, I was going to ask what the process would look like of doing something like that.
Yeah, because it's really good political theater when you're running for a state office to say
no taxes,
no property taxes,
no property tax,
right? It's easy to say that because the state doesn't get a penny of it.
Yeah,
all ad valorem in the state stays at the local county where it's collected.
Yeah.
80% of it goes to your schools, 20% of it goes to fund your county government. And that's going to be, county government is, that's your sheriffs, that's your fire departments. That could be hospitals. I mean, that could be a lot of things. Roads, county roads and bridges. And so, you can't go out and say, oh, let's just repeal this carte blanche because you're basically going to be defunding those things.
Right. Yeah, like I'd recently been looking at it that I think it was 82% of the senior citizens in Oklahoma were owning their own homes, and those who were not senior citizens, I think there was only like a 46% of those people. Don't quote me on that. That's just something I had read. Yeah. And so if the senior citizens have the majority of property and home ownership, and they were the ones to get the tax cuts and breaks, what would that look like for funding the schools and those municipalities? Yeah,
and yes, that's the question. But fiscally, how does it impact? I think that we should, at minimum, freeze where they are for seniors. And some seniors and veterans are exempt from property tax right now. It's driven by, are you 100% disabled veteran right now? And you can get an exemption based upon your income as a senior. So from that standpoint, I do think there is a path to eliminate it for the seniors but they need certainty. I mean, here's the problem for seniors. When you retire, your first day of retirement, that first retirement check you get,
you're on a fixed budget now.
You are,
yeah,
and that fixed budget going forward in time
doesn't catch up with inflation.
It doesn't. I mean, the buying power of it, is diminishing. So, a senior who has an exemption this year, let's just take somebody who might have a few cows. They might still ranch a little bit, and they don't have much income, but let's just say they have a really good, they have a little bit better year in the cattle market than the previous year. Well, if they sell a few cows and go above that threshold, now they're back on paying their property taxes, which probably wasn't calculated in their budget going forward.
Right.
So we need certainty and we need stability. I think people should be able to retire in peace. I really want to find a way to repeal the ad valorem for our seniors and veterans. I mean, I think that would be great. Now, the biggest thing that will energize our economy would be to do away with personal income tax. That would help our seniors and retirees. Now, for veterans and military, we're already not taxing their retirement benefits. But we should extend that. But that just leaves more money in people's pocket to pay for the escalating costs of groceries, insurance, and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think those are the two things we need to, really focus on to help families. And it's not just our seniors and veterans. Let's think about, we want a bigger workforce. We want more young families establishing residency here and laying down roots. We've got to find ways to. It's hard when you're starting out. You don't have a lot of income, but you're trying to build security. You're trying to home ownership. You're trying to prepare to build a family.
Yeah.
I want to see us do things to invest and make it more attainable for young families to thrive here in the state.
Yeah.
There's two states of existence. It's surviving or thriving. I've seen both. We're going to be in the state of thriving.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to be.
Yeah. And that was another one of my questions. You're seeing, I think in 2010, the study was the first time home buyers. So this would be their first home they're buying.
Yes.
The average age was 32. And now I believe, after 15, 16 years, it's jumped to 38 is the average age for your first time home buyer.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, and what's something we could do to maybe bring that average back down again so, younger folks, like you were saying, be able to afford something like that? You're advocating for no more property or cutting the state income tax.
Yeah.
And in doing so, what does that kind of look like in an overall grand scheme?
Yeah, well, and it's not just what you do, it's how you do it that makes sense. So on the personal income tax, you should start by eliminating all the lower tax brackets first. Get to a single rate. By doing that, eliminating the lower ones first, you're helping the lower income earners in the state first.
Yeah.
And puts more dollars in their pocket. Working to those insurance rates, getting those down, keeping utility costs in check, staying one of the most best cost of living states is important to help young families. But also, the state, what they can do when they have surpluses, what I experienced with all these surpluses that we were able to generate, you set monies aside for first-time home buyer programs. Also for communities, we set up $300 million that doesn't matter where you are in the state of Oklahoma. Housing's a big problem throughout the state, especially small communities. It's the chicken or the egg,
Yeah.
We need housing, but we don't have the people for the housing, but we can't attract the people unless
you have the house.
unless we have some housing.
Yeah.
So we set $300 million aside that developers could reach in and utilize that money to develop housing out throughout the state of Oklahoma. Go in and build 5 houses, 10 houses, sell them. That money has to be repaid back into the pot once you sell it, and then continue that out. Try to provide the entire pipeline, address the entire pipeline. But with those who need to borrow money to get into their first house, do they have a good paying job?
Yeah.
But what you don't have, even when you're starting out with a good paying job, you don't have reserves. You don't have savings.
Right.
So that down payment, we created a pot of funds that could assist with that as well.
Yeah.
We got to continue to innovate and reinvest that way.
So you're delivering a product at a reasonable cost, and you're still, acquiring financial gain in doing so. So
yeah,
absolutely.
and these programs are the ones I've seen in the past. If you stay in the house for 5 years, then that down payment assistance program is forgiven. If you bail and move somewhere else, you got to pay it back.
Right.
But anyway, we just got to come out. We need to come up with a better recipe, or at least a very strong one, to attract what we want and invest. Listen to our workforce and our future generations won't be any stronger than that family unit. So those new families that are starting, we need to pay a lot of attention to, helping stabilize their financial situation in terms of opportunity and jobs, but also make sure that, we are doing the things to help them create security, physical security, housing, food, shelter, things, the basic fundamental foundations. But also we need strong churches in the state that come alongside and do things that government can't do effectively, and pour into people and in terms of their spirit, and as well as helping them navigate their life's journey. One of the biggest things that I found that was supportive is, after Stephanie and I were married, we joined a church that neither one of us grew up in, but they had a really great young married group there, people that were our age, experiencing the same things. We went to Sunday school and church with them, and we kind of could empathize with one another's situation and help one another. We learned a lot together. That's I think, a very important component of building stability in the family, and I think that's something that Oklahoma could be stronger. But that's one thing that makes our state really great. Our people still have a belief in the Almighty and the Creator, and a sense of right and wrong and a moral compass.
Yeah. And I had, along those lines of talking about the church engaging and really pouring into people, I had spoke with Representative Josh Burkeen about 2 months ago about this topic with the homeless population and situation that you're seeing in the larger areas like Tulsa, Oklahoma City. You see an influx in that, and having those churches really, whether it's feeding the poor, just really pour into those communities. But what's a good way that we could help that situation to where there's not such an influx over the period of time? You see it go up and up and up.
Yep.
And what would be a good way that we could start to see in that decline?
Well, Jesus says in the Bible, churches take care of the widows and the orphans. I mean, that's the directive, and the churches are good at, and we have strong churches in the state that want to meet physical and spiritual needs of people. They do a good job. Homelessness has increased. The thing that I've experienced, I'll stop and talk to folks, and just find out what they're about and their life story.
Right.
And when it comes to homelessness, it's a tough issue, and here's why. While I was in the legislature down here, I was getting some gas at an on-cue gas station next to the Capitol. The guy walks up and says, "Can I wash your windows? Or whatever you want to pay me." Homeless guy, and he's right over, just staying right over here at the bridge next door. Yeah, from the gas station, and I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I'm filling it up, and we just start, and I start talking, and he's a great individual. I mean, really enjoyed it. And it was cold out there. It was a really cold evening, and I'm like, "Man, hey, can I help you get into a shelter tonight or to a church or something? I mean, it's cold out here." And it was really mind blowing. But his response was, "Hey, I really appreciate that, but I want you to understand something. I choose this life. I choose this lifestyle. I'm doing exactly what I want to do." And for me, I was like, that is a totally different way of looking at life.
Absolutely.
Than I see it.
Yeah.
But I share that story because what I realized in that conversation was, here's somebody that doesn't want the help that I want to offer them. And so I think that's what the challenge is with the homeless situation. There's a lot of drug addiction. The state's trying to help those people, and but you have to have to help somebody. My pastor has said in the past, there's a difference between help and relief.
Mm-hmm.
And most people want relief, which is to take away the pain that they're experiencing,
Mm-hmm.
but not willing to change behavior. Help is changing behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very tough issue. And while we're Christians and we are called to have compassion, and I will and do, we also have to speak the truth on issues. So it's a hard situation to deal with. I'm willing, the state level as the governor, to help any city address the problems. But we do have to make sure our cities have to show leadership, and they have to come up with local policy and ordinance that actually help. And they can't create a problem and then ask the state to come in and fix it.
What do you think? What do you think some of those things would be? Some of those.
Well, you can't just have. We just, in the state of Oklahoma, our communities, there's only so much of it that we can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it, people came, their home's not Oklahoma.
No,
they end up here because somebody asked them to come here.
Yeah.
Or they saw something where Tulsa or Oklahoma City is going to offer some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And city of Norman is in this, has had this experience as well in dealing with it. But it's kind of asking for it and welcoming it without a plan on how to address it. Then you get overrun. Mm-hmm. Then you want somebody else to bail you out.
Yeah.
And so I think you've got to, I think the church does a better job in that area, as well as most of the areas within the state handles within DHS, when it's foster care, adoption, crisis pregnancy. The churches will be much more functional long term. But I want these cities that don't have a plan. They've got a soft heart for people, but they haven't worked out a plan. Yeah. They've got to lead. The state can't take care of everything, but I'm happy as governor to come in and assist. Mm-hmm. We want to help people. There's some people that don't want to help that found their way here, and for whatever reason, and I think the state of California buses people to Oklahoma. I think some other states do that too, and I think it's not a bad thing to help them find their way home.
Yeah, no, and I was going to say in my line of work, this is a common occurrence that we have where we're ask somebody as we're helping them, or somebody will call on them because they're laying in the road or something, or they're laying on the sidewalk, and somebody might call in on them, not knowing if they're okay. And then after you get there, make sure they're okay, make sure they have medical attention. You'll just ask them, where are you from? And the majority of the time, it's very surprising. It's not from Oklahoma. Right. Yeah.
And listen, even if they're here, I'm willing to help somebody become productive. Mm-hmm. I mean, we want everybody in the state of Oklahoma to be productive and experience a great life. But those who refuse, treatment or a pathway to become productive, then, you can't expect the taxpayers. You can expect them to help you, but not forever.
Right.
We're going to be you've got to be, helping people. I mean, it goes back to the adage. You feed somebody a fish, feed them for a day. Teach them how to fish, feed them for life.
Right.
That's the approach. Mm-hmm. And the outcome will be based upon the individual and what are they willing to become a part of our state and a productive member of our state? Right. Our state's very compassionate. People are very compassionate. They want to help. Ultimately, it's about people and relationships more than it is politics. But someone who just constantly refuses to help, themselves, that's a problem. The Scripture says God helps those who are willing to help themselves, and so you've got to have compassion, but you also have to speak the truth, and that's how I will address it as governor. I'll do my best to help people who are in a bad situation find a good, productive life and a path there. But you've got to be willing to work hard at it, and do your part.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Circling back around just for a moment on the state income tax issue, what would be your process of implementing a zero state income tax?
We're currently on a path to zero, which means we're going to phase it out as economic growth. We experience economic growth and revenue growth. And I passed the bill originally while I was in the legislature, did not make it through the Senate until after I termed out. But that's the path that Tennessee followed. And as revenues increase $400 million, there'll be a quarter cut. And I think there's a way to accelerate that. Ultimately, you can't take the personal income tax to zero immediately. Just can't do it. Kansas proved that out. They eliminated theirs all in one big swipe. It shocked their system, and they had to turn around. And there was political ramifications, economic ramifications, and they ultimately had to turn back around and institute a personal income tax. You can phase it out. You can do some tax reform and change some other things up in the recipe that allow you to make big adjustments in it initially, or replace it. And I think those are possibilities. That's what I'll talk to the legislature about, is what do they have the appetite to do. But getting to zero, I mean, right now when we were asking for families, people, more workforce to move here and more investment from businesses who need workforce before they can expand their business, in the state that they're in, much less trying to move or expand in another state. You've got to have something that attracts them.
Yeah.
And right now, and it's true. Texas, the state of Texas has higher taxation overall than the state of Oklahoma, but they, for decades, have been growing so much faster than Oklahoma. It's because they have no personal income tax and they have no corporate income tax on their business. And even though their taxation is higher, they beat us every time because people see, here's a state that does not tax what I make. And that makes people want to work harder. What we need in Oklahoma, more millionaires and billionaires. Don't tax what they make. You want everybody to become a millionaire. And then when they start buying they start spending and buying cool toys and whatnot, there'll be plenty of revenue come in on that consumption side. Yeah. I really want to see it's overall moving to a more consumption-based economy than we have in the past.
Now, would there be a raise in like sales tax or anything like that, or would that stay?
I don't think you have to.
Okay.
We were able to triple the output with bringing personal income tax down and eliminating the franchise tax on business and cutting the corporate income tax from 6% to 4%. And there's a few other things that we did as well. I think there is a path to, I don't know if the legislature says, hey, Governor, if you want the elimination of the personal income tax, here's what we're going to need. Here's what we believe we have to change elsewhere to keep things stable. I'll look at that. At the end of the day, if it's a net tax cut for the people of the state, I could be open to that. I am not going to be for raising taxes on a net tax increase on people. That's the wrong direction. It's a wrong way to go. And this state stayed stagnant for decades because that was our structure.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna keep moving in a way that lowers the burden on people. That's what stimulates the economy.
Yeah.
Growing it out, having more makers, and growing the pie, the economic number of businesses that we have. We all can have lower taxations everywhere, not just on the personal income tax side.
Okay.
And still have plenty of revenue. We've proved it. We have revenue to address education funding, health care, roads and bridges. We've proven that out. And anybody and I know sounds counterproductive. People ask me all the time, well, if you cut the personal income tax, Charles, how do you make up that revenue? I'm like, the revenue's still there. The money is still there. It's just you left it in the earner's pocket to make the decision on how to spend it, but they spend it and it comes back to the state on the consumption side. Mm-hmm. So now that act's completely different than you eliminate a consumption tax, you severed a pathway of revenue back to the state. When we eliminated the grocery tax, that is $450 million that'll never come back to the state of Oklahoma. But every time we cut the personal income tax, it was scored at $300 million. That $300 million was redeployed by the people who earned it, and it just bounced around the economy and benefited the cities, the counties, and the state on the sales tax side, and came back, and we had more to work with.
Yeah. Does this seem like something that a lot of people don't fully grasp the concept of how this works? You know, they hear they're going to cut taxes and they think, well, that's going to cut funding for all these different municipalities, schools, roads.
People are scared. If you cut taxes, we won't have the revenue to do the things that we want to do. And the entities that operate off those tax revenues, they're always scared of it. And, you know, they'll message, well, no, if you cut, then we'll have less.
Right.
And how we make that up. And, but I've proven in my experience, shown that when you make incremental cuts,
the data is backing up the incremental cuts.
The economic the performance is there to prove it. But the how is important. Mm-hmm. You don't want to overrun it.
Yeah.
Where you do have a disruption. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm all about functionality. I think the best government is the one that's responsive to the people, listens to the people, and works for the people, serves the people, and to the greatest extent stays kind of out of their life. And I think people think they have a good government when they're doing well, their lives are great, and they don't even see the government there.
Yeah.
It's so functional and it's very limited in its scope. That's what people want.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on to a conversation that seems a little like over the last few years kind of seems pretty tense when you talk about it. But as governor, how would your administration handle relationships with the tribes?
That is not I don't think that's a hard issue at all.
Okay.
I mean, my family moved to what is now Oklahoma in 1885 from Pennsylvania. The patriarch of our family died in a mining related accident, and the matriarch of the family gathered the boys up, and they came here. They went as far as the train went west at that time, and they settled in Tishomingo, Johnson County, Oklahoma, the capital city of the Chickasaw Nation. And since 1885, our family has either lived within the Chickasaw Nation or the Choctaw Nation. So between Tishomingo and Atoka.
Yeah.
And the Chickasaw Nation and the Choctaw Nation have done great things in our part of the state. They've been a great partner. As a mayor, Choctaw Nation came in and finished a project. We built a new sports complex for the people. They wanted it. We facilitated it, got it done as their city council, but we didn't have the funds to build the roads make permanent surface roads into it, walking tracks, lighting, and the Choctaw Nation came in and did that part of it. The tribal nations really, I see them as an opportunity for the state of Oklahoma. I mean, federal government moved them here. They didn't ask to come here. It's 38 federally recognized tribes. They're here. The big 5 civilized tribes are here in Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. They have big economies. They have federal sovereignty. They are governments, and so is the state of Oklahoma. The state of Oklahoma is sovereign. It has we're a state in the union. We have our government. There's going to be some things that are different, mm-hmm. but we have always found a way to compact for things. Yeah. The tribal nations aren't going to pay. They're exempt from taxation. They're not on their businesses. They're not likely going to remit directly to the Oklahoma Tax Commission. Mm-hmm. But the tribes where I live, what they don't remit to the Oklahoma Tax Commission, they remit to municipalities and counties. They come in and help with projects. And when we're working together with the tribal nations, we're able to do more within education. We mm-hmm. are able to do more within healthcare and right. road and bridge infrastructure.
Yeah. And in seeing that, why do you think there's why this is such a sore subject, and why this is such a subject of contention, and why there's so much, maybe not animosity, but there's some, right now it seems like anyway, it's just kind of a tense relationship?
Well, there's a host of reasons. There are, my experience within the Choctaw and Chickasaw mm-hmm. nations have been very positive.
Yeah.
But there's also, 36 other tribes around the state,
right?
Of different, and all the tribal nations are different. They have mm-hmm. their own different history, and their culture is unique, and their leadership see things differently. But at the end of the day, and I understand there are some things that are perceived by people as inequitable between the two governments, and the citizens of those governments are treated differently, and that's usually where the strife and the problems are. Mm-hmm. But the federal government allows us to compact at the state mm-hmm. level, and which are enduring agreements between two governments that seek to create some conformity and uniformity on trying to treat things in a similar fashion. The tribal nations may not do it the same way that we decide to do it here in Oklahoma, mm-hmm. but my experience is if you'll work hard, be respectful, work together, you can find ways to the same outcome. It's just a different path.
Yeah.
You kind of wired around it, mm-hmm. so to speak, and where you have great outcomes. Now, there should be great outcomes for all Oklahomans in these agreements. And I would, as governor, I will be seeking for agreements that make sense and are good for the people of the state of Oklahoma. I know the tribal leaders want the same. Mm-hmm. I don't see it as a zero-sum game where one side wins and one side loses.
Right.
I think there's a way for everyone to win. But that takes work, and that takes working at the relationship, and there's some things that, listen, I never thought universal school freedom in this state that was the toughest fight in the legislature, but it finally happened because we kept working to find a way where every student, parent, teacher, and school in the state of Oklahoma would win. It would be a win all the way around for everybody. Yeah. Same thing with the Native American tribes. but you've got to be respectful and show some deference, and you have to have conversations. That's where it starts, and you have to understand the culture and not communicate publicly on things until there's an agreement. And there will be some things that very quickly I think we can do together, but there will be some harder things that'll take longer.
Right.
But don't let the things you can agree on. Well, let me put it this way. Don't let the things that you can't agree on today, those things that you have disagreement on, keep you from doing the things that you do agree on. Go get those things done.
Mm-hmm.
Keep working on the others. Do the things that you can do, and we will move forward into higher levels of prosperity for everybody.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And moving on to, seen a lot lately about foreign land ownership here in Oklahoma. And so for a lot of Oklahomans may not even be privy to it or know that it's going on maybe right around their area. So what can you kind of take us into that, where we're seeing a majority of this foreign ownership happen, where at in the state, and how is it able to happen?
The genesis of it was the legalization of marijuana in the state of Oklahoma. State question brought by initiative petition, out-of-state group, put forth, and people voted it in. Mm-hmm. What they were sold on was not what they voted on, and now they're seeing the consequences of what was really in that state question. But every state that legalizes marijuana, you have every cartel on the globe that moves into that state. They know that the state where it's new, it's going to take them a period of time to get a framework stood up to regulate it and to enforce the law. Our state's constitution says you cannot own land in Oklahoma unless you're a U.S. citizen or in the process of becoming a U.S. citizen. If not, we have foreign-owned land here, and it's because it's marijuana grow, and there's direct ownership in shell companies, LLCs, and there's even straw buyers that are funded the money to buy it, to lease it back.
Okay.
And so that's kind of the advent of it. We've stood up some laws to start getting our arms around it. The Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics has done a great job, along with your local sheriffs, to rein in a lot of it. Oklahoma, your county government cannot issue ordinances in the county, so it's hard for them. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're outside the city limits, you can it's kind of a
kind of a Wild West,
kind of free for all a little bit.
Yeah, but
we've started finding it and rooting it out. The grow licenses have dropped down below 1,500.
Yeah.
I mean, they started off at about 9,000 were applied for. 9,000. So it's down, but that ownership's still there. It's a very simple solution. It'll take effort. It'll take resources, and I'm willing to deploy those, even if it means the National Guard. But you can seize the land, and you just put it back in Oklahoma's hands by auctioning it off at the county courthouse steps to the highest bidder.
Yeah.
But getting out there and finding it, OBN, they're really good at it, and I want to put more resources behind it, and I'll find it all as governor. It's on my platform, and we'll get them out of here.
How do you think they were able to basically work for this long? Like, how were they able to kind of take roots and be able to grow so much in such a relatively short amount of time?
Well, the word's out. I mean, we've been cracking down on it once we figured it out. A lot of them are already leaving.
Yeah,
they're going to places like Mississippi, who legalized it after us. Mm-hmm. But
what would have been the best way to prevent it from happening in the first place?
Don't pass it.
Just don't pass it.
Just don't pass it.
Okay.
I mean,
but even after passing it, was there a way to mitigate the craziness that went on?
I don't think so. I mean, you look at other states like Colorado around us.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have a problem with it today. There's fewer. I mean, they only have a few. It's all consolidated down to 10 large companies
Right.
or whatnot. But I just don't think. I don't think it's good. Ultimately, I don't think the benefits of it outweigh the costs of it. That's just me personally, but the people of the state have legalized it. What are we going to do about it until the people change their mind?
Yeah.
You got to start treating it like a medical program. People who use it based on medicinal use. You need to see your doctor more than once a year to
Before you can
your
just
card.
acquire it.
Yeah. The doctor should prescribe what level of THC. If it's being prescribed to a child, I mean, they ought to see him weekly. We've already cracked down on out of state doctors can't issue marijuana licenses, but you've got to start regulating. If the feds will declassify it, and there is, I think, legislation or a process being worked through, they move it, the classification schedule, it could be dispensed through pharmacies. It's not dispensed through pharmacies right now because it's of the federal prohibition on it. If the people of the state want to keep it and they believe they voted on it as a medicinal program, medical marijuana, then that's the way it needs to be treated. But there's a lot of things that there are kids overdosing.
Yeah.
There are kids going to school that are numb. They are not in a condition to learn. And I know there's some people in pain out there that the THC can help. But what it's proving is that there's a high level of abuse, and we've got mental health cases skyrocketing in the state.
Is this something you could see happening before it happened? Yeah. Like, is this something you were watching, just thinking to yourself?
Here's a perfect example of the people of the state. We get exploited through our initiative petition process. They're marketed one thing and they vote for it, and it's not what they voted for. And then when it gets bad after a couple of years, then then people start looking to place blame here and there. And I've heard, well, you guys in the legislature didn't get out in front of this. We've got this bad framework.
Lots of pointing fingers.
We voted it in, but we got this because you wouldn't do something responsible. That's not true. We did something very responsible to get ahead of this. We legalized CBD. That's where the medicinal value is. THC is for pain.
Yeah.
CBD, and we would hope that in itself would address the seizure problems with youth, the medicinal value for the aged who have a hard time sleeping and have other medical issues that the CBD will help with and alleviate. But the THC, I mean, there are varieties of the plants being grown with super high levels of THC that trigger that psychotic episode that really can very addictive and will burn you up over time.
Yeah.
And those things have got to be reined in if you're going to keep it. But it's tough. I mean, marijuana is the gateway drug to the harder stuff, and the stronger THC level varieties keep people in marijuana longer. But listen, I will concede that I do think that marijuana has helped with our opioid problem in the state of Oklahoma. I think it has replaced opioids for pain to a decent degree. I would say that has. If you said, Charles, can you say one positive thing about it? I would say that is it.
Yeah.
But long term, I personally would vote to repeal, because the state we had plenty of mental health cases to deal with before the passage of legalized marijuana. Now the front door is flooding.
And do you think
It's
that's kind of
increased.
that's because it was so wild at first, just so much of it popping up everywhere.
It's just
so many different grow farms, so many different dispensaries.
It's being abused
Yeah.
like any other drug. That's the problem
Yeah.
with it. And with youth, I mean, the brain is not fully developed until you're 26 years old, 26 years of age. And so whether it's drugs, alcohol, and marijuana is in that category with it, the use of it is going to it's going to keep your mind from reaching full development, full potential. So there's just a lot of things about it that unintended consequences. I think people are now discovering about it and seeing it on a day-to-day basis, and we've got to get in there and tighten it up. And I know there's a lot of people who've invested money in it, and I'm not trying. I get that, but it is it's very there's a real negative impact on, and we've got to show some leadership and address it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that as well.
Yeah.
Moving on kind of to the close, what do you think sets you apart from the other candidates that are running in this race? What is something that you would say, this is why Charles McCall should be governor of Oklahoma? I
think people should vote for Charles McCall because, number one, I don't need the job. I don't need a title. I'm in it for the people of the state of Oklahoma. I'm in it for the state's future. Goes back to what I told you earlier about my dad's taught me an approach about business. Go make things good for others, and things will be great for everyone. Beyond that, I'm the only candidate that has the experience. I'm the most qualified, the most experienced. As Speaker of the House, going from the worst of times, I know what caused that. We will not go back there. In shepherding the state to the best times economically in state history, catching up, preparing with reserves for a future economic downturn, investing in core infrastructure in this state, but also seeing the executive branch of government, which is full of agencies and bureaucracy and unelected people, and knowing all the games that they can play. You should vote for me because I'll be effective day one in making the executive branch of government start working for the people of the state. Right now, the people of the state feel like the government's telling them how they have to live their life and what they have to do. That's not the place of government. Place of government is to serve people of the state. And as governor, I'm going to make sure it works for the people. And I have a proven track record of, I don't have just great conservative rhetoric and promises. I have a proven record of delivering. No one else does. And I'm not saying other people aren't good Oklahomans in this race. I'm just saying you want the best outcomes and somebody that actually done it and proven themselves, then you should vote for Charles McCall. And I know that I'll be the most effective governor that of anybody in the race. And quite honestly, the way I was successful is I surround myself with people who are like-minded, focused on outcomes and doing good for the people, and having a functional government for the people, by the people of the people. And that's what people will have out of Governor Charles McCall. I don't want any credit for the great outcomes. I just want people to do well, and I want the credit to, if our state rises to new levels and meets and fully achieves its potential, that is thanks enough. I don't care if how I'm remembered, other than Charles McCall was the governor when, during a time of really great opportunity and prosperity for us. I would say that would be the best legacy to leave.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Charles McCall.
And thank you great to see you. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Best
Yes, sir.
wishes on the hand there, healing it up, and thank you for protecting our families and what you do every day as a firefighter.
Love it. Absolutely.
And
love it.
keeping our community safe and throwing yourself out there in the line of danger to your own peril and hazard to yourself and to your family. Thank you.
Thank you so much.